Francisco, presenting Summer Jam 77. 3 o'clock, Sally Adams playing them for you on another golden weekend.
Why, hello everybody. It's Craig Marr, bringing you another edition of The Stories Behind the Games. Here we're going to be looking at a very topical opening, the King's Indian Attack, which was one of Bobby Fischer's favorite openings. It's another way to attack the French defense. Now if you go look back on Fischer's career, you'll find that in many games he would attack the French defense not with d4, which looks kind of natural, but with d3. So anyway, this is a very good system which was played in the very important Sam Shankland versus Sergei Karjakin match in the recent 2021 World Cup. Now the match itself was extremely hard fought with no draws. I mean, it's similar to the Roman gladiators where you have nothing but blood. This is what the spectators love. You know, they don't want 6 games, 6 draws. You know, that's boring, man. But anyway, it's interesting to note that, you know, white won almost every game except the last game. Karjakin is an e4 player. Sam Shankland's a d4 player. We have 2 players with completely contrasting styles, and that makes for very exciting and very interesting chess. Now, Sam Shankland, he's an American product. He was born and raised in the United States. So this guy, well anyway, you know, Sam is very well known to most of us. He has a very positional style. He takes few risks and he likes to squeeze his opponents. He can play just about any kind of opening and play it well, and not many can do that. On the other hand, you have Sergei Karjakin. This is a player who needs no introduction. This guy was one of the world's youngest grandmasters, and he lived up to his potential. Man, let me tell you something. I've seen a lot of kids come and go, touted as, you know, okay, you're going to be the next Fischer. Well, guess what? Most of them, from Adams to Bacro to Vinay Bhatt to Parmesan Nagy, you know, after a few years, they flame out. They decide, well, I want to go to college. Maybe I want to go get a job. Maybe I want to go get another career. And, you know, they make GM, but they never, you know, advanced into the top 10 in the world or into the candidates. But let me tell you something, guys. Karjakin, this guy is the real deal, man. You know, and this guy was 2,700, you know, many years before Sam got up there. But anyway, Karjakin, you know, he's a great tactical player. He's a great attacking player. He has elements of Bobby Fischer in his style. He's a natural e4 player. This is all he plays. When you play e4, it's sort of an attacking move. You got to have a feel for attack and sacrifice whenever you play king pawn out. See, I'm a d4 player. I prefer peaceful positional play. But when you play e4, you got to be ready to sack. You got to be ready for a wide open game. His relative weakness is that he's not that great of a defensive player. You know, and when, you know, he kind of has a calm position, you know, he sometimes doesn't always feel as much at home in that type of position. But, you know, at the highest levels, you not only have to be able to attack, but you have to hunker down when things get tough. Anyway, let's look at today's game, which was played between Sergei Karjakin White and our own Sam Shankland Black. Now these guys are both in their prime. This is the World Cup. They're both rated over 2,700. Anyway, so e4, e6 was played. d3, this is the King's Indian attack. d5, you can also play c5, and that kind of leads to the very similar positions. Knight d2, knight f6, knight f3, bishop e7. Now, throughout the first four moves, this is a very standard opening, and these are very standard moves here. So far, nothing unusual here. g3. Now, look at this move. This is not normal. The normal move is c5. So this is a little bit funny here. And I'm not really sure how White should meet this move. You could probably play a4. You know, that looks okay, maybe. But anyway, so this is an early surprise from Sam, getting out a book very early here. Bishop g2, a4, and this is highly unusual. He's not castling, he's not developing his pieces, he's simply moving his rook pawn. Now, look at this move. Because he's an e4 player, we have to go way back to 1967 from the Interzonal in South, Tunisia, to see that Bobby played this against Mayag Masarin in South, 1967. God, that was like 40 years ago. Bobby played a3 against Mayag Masarin. So we know that being an e4 player, Karjakin has probably, no question, studied the games of Bobby Fischer. And so he knew about this move, which is the same move that Bobby played. Now we're back to the main line of c5. Now the idea behind the King's Indian attack is to get rid of the best defensive piece that Black has, which is this knight on f6, push it back, and then just start attacking the king. But as we shall find, it's not that easy to just suddenly score a checkmate, you know, on the Black king. So this is a standard move in the King's Indian attack. Now, this is the best square. You want to put pressure over here. If you're going back here, this pawn is going to control your knight. So knight e8 is not played very much. Knight d7 is the book move here. Knight f1. Black has to get aggressive activity started. If he waits around, he's probably going to get under heavy attack over here. Right now the attack isn't too serious, but eventually White's going to play h4, bishop h3, knight g4, bishop f4, and attack the dark squares right around the king. Now there's actually two ways to play this position. You can allow h6 by White, or you can prevent h6. Either way is playable. If you're playing the way Sam played, you're leaving a target for this type of attack, g4, g5. So it's not really clear, you know, whether you should play h6 or, for Black, allow h6, because then, you know, maybe you have some weaknesses around your king. But You know, it's not clear which is the better way to play. So this is normal, simply developing. The queen in this line should be on a dark square to maybe sack over there. Now you're probably wondering, well, how come white doesn't just sack here, you know? Why don't you just sack? Well, the problem is if you sack, he's probably going to have something like, you know, bishop f8, and right now it's just not there right now. So white wisely refrains from the sack, although it is very tempting for me to just sack right now, you know. So this is probably the right idea, and that is to break on g5 and, you know, start attacking the king, you know. Now black just comes back for defense. Now it's obvious that the sack is not any good right now, you know. So white's problem is, you know, how do I adequately prepare the g5 break? Now one possibility is you could play c3 and d4, and then once the center is locked, then just, you know, go after the king. Although it's not that easy. You know, black always has this terrific counterplay over here. Now this is very interesting. Knight h2. Because knight g3 looks more natural, but this turns out to be a very key thing later on with the knight coming to g4. So this is a very subtle way to get to the dark squares here. Now this is very subtle. He's trying to maybe get rook g1 in, and he's basically going to play here and start blasting open toward the king. So this is getting very exciting. Black attacks on the queen side, white attacks on the king side. I usually prefer white here because the king, the attack is proceeding directly to the king. Even if black gets, you know, wins a couple of pawns over here, he might be getting mated over here. So generally you should prefer the one that's attacking the king comes first. Now white, you know, is not wasting time and is consistent. You know, he's just going to attack. When you have attacks on opposite wings, you can't waste time with waiting moves. You have to just proceed directly because black is coming very quickly on the queen side here. You know, this is probably going to open up before this opens up. But now this capture is very questionable by white. I don't know why he did that. The main thing is that he wants to play d4 here. This is the main reason. He wants to keep this diagonal heading toward the king closed, so that he can play bishop f1 and then get file action going with the rook. So there's a method to the madness. Problem is the knight comes in, and there's very dangerous counterplay here and here. Now the attack begins. g5. Now, you know, it's not clear how we're going to take here. You know, you could take with a knight, but Karjakin decided to take with a bishop and start exposing the king, getting those dark squares. You know, in this particular position, all the plays and the attack is coming on the dark squares. So you got to attack in the dark squares. Now this is very dangerous, obviously. You know, he's got A3 coming. Bishop E7, Queen E7. Now he's trying to get the rook going. Now the position is getting very, very dangerous and hairy for both sides here. Now here's one of the fantastic moves I've seen in a long time. Rook G7, kapow! Incredible move. He's got to take it. This is an incredible move. Now the queen is coming in here with a quick checkmate. So he's pretty much got to play F5 here. And that does win the queen, you know. Gotta take. And gotta take. But things are getting real hairy here. Things are getting extremely hairy down here. Black's gonna get another queen, but white has a big attack coming. Check. Now this is very nice, threatening mate in 1, so this is forced. But white doesn't care. He just keeps attacking. Look at this, non-stop attack. Now white probably has, you know, a winning attack here. I think white probably has a winning attack. He's thinking that all this activity is irrelevant if I can score a checkmate, you know. Now I want you guys to find the checkmate. I'm glad that most of you found this. So long and thanks for watching.